This time on Dicky's Garage, I'm going to show you guys how we widened the wheelbase on the big block Miata. Welcome back to Dicky's Garage. Tonight we are working on the big block Miata. More specifically, we are working on the rear end. So I've got this cut out of this 95 GT Mustang. I'm going to tidy it up a bit, cut some more of this off still. And then I've got the Miata. We've taken the bumper off, we've lifted the car up. I went ahead and did some like makeshift measurements here with a tape measure while it was on the ground, just so I have a baseline for where the car was sitting before. I've measured it, and it looks as though the wheel is going to be maybe within a 1/4 inch of the same overall, ride height or diameter. So I think it's going to actually fit in there without cutting the wheel well. Now the tires are 275s, so it's going to be a little bit wider, plus the overall spacing is going to be wider. But right now what I got to do is get under this car and get all the stock bits ripped out so I can get some good measurements and figure out where to cut. So I know what this looks like. It looks like I did a whole lot of work just now. But in fact, what had happened is SVT Kevin come by. He said he only had a few minutes to stay, so I put him to work. And we managed to get the entire subframe out of the Miata, all in one piece, and then we stripped down the Mustang GT rear differential. We pulled the body off just so we can put this housing in there and do some measuring. So let's do that now and see where it puts us. So guys, if you were anything like me, you expected this to be an absolute nightmare, but you were not going to believe how easy it looks. So check this out. I went ahead and checked some driveline angles. I put the angle finder here on the engine. I got it about 2 degrees headed down to the rear of the car. So that's probably about what you need there. So when I set the rear end up, what I did is I put it on a pair of jack stands, and then I put a jack under the snout of the differential to help me adjust my angles. Now I've centered it side to side, front to rear, and I've got it where I want the vehicle to sit with the suspension loaded car on the ground. That's how I'm going to try to set this up. Now I've adjusted my driveline angle here to about 2 degrees running north on the snout of the differential. So I got 2 going up, 2 going down. I think that means I have like a running angle of 4 degrees. I don't know. I'm not a driveline guy, but we're going to run with those numbers and put it in like we've got it. Now, let me show you the really cool part about this. Upper control arm, right? We're just focused on the control arms right now. I've got it loosely fitted in there, but look at that. It sits right inside that factory frame rail. All we got to do is fab us up a torque box and burn it into that frame rail, and we are golden. Now, at this point, you may notice we've removed the gas tank. That we had to make that decision the other night. It was kind of I want the car to be safe, I want it to pass tech, and we're going to be using a fuel cell to achieve that. So that's why the tank's gone. So we're going to mount us a torque box up there on the inside of that frame rail. And check this out. This control arm lands just inside that frame rail. I mean, it is beautiful. This is entirely way easier than I thought it was going to be. We were anticipating having to cut these boxes out and completely change the structure of this car. But it looks like the dimensions of a 95 GT Mustang axle and the way the control arms are set up fits the Miata frame absolutely perfectly. Even the coil spring mount looks like it's going to land right up here, similar to this factory mount. Just front of it here, it's going to be outside that box, so we're not getting into those boxes and doing any kind of weird stuff there, which is awesome as well. Oh, one more thing. I think the drive shaft may reach back. If anything, it's a hair too long, and I'd a lot rather pay to have one shortened than add tubes, so that's kind of cool. Alright, so here's where we're at currently. I have that box gusseted and ready to go. That's ready for a control arm. I got a bit of cleaning up to do to this one still, and I got to build some gussets on the backside to support it, but I mean, right now it's there. Working on putting some reinforcement on this side, and we've got this box burned in over here. So we got to do a little cleaning up, make it look a little better, but structurally it's there. So just a little bit more. I think we're going to be able to put this rear end in here and load it with a spring and see how she sits. So good thing I didn't have anything planned for outside today because it is gross. But that's not keeping us from moving forward with this project. Let me show you what I've got so far. So here is the underside of the car from the front. You can see the upper control arm mounts up there inside that frame rail. You've got the lower control arms just outside the lower frame rail. And then we've stuck the springs. Well, you can't see that one. You see that one? I just stuffed it on top of the frame rail there. Well, on top of the control arm between that and the frame rail. I still got to get some purchase fabbed up and stick that in there. Plus, I got a lot of work to do to get these welds finished up and make this thing look a little better. But all in all, it actually looks like the angles are right. When I bounce the car with the weight on it, the pinion snout is aimed just a little bit up, so that's what we wanted. So I put the Miata back on the ground just now and had a bit of a surprise waiting for me. The quarter panel is sitting on the tire, so it's completely on the ground, and we have no suspension travel. I kind of freaked out for a minute, I'm not going to lie. But never fear, because what this is I haven't installed the front, the top spring hat for the coil springs in the rear. There's a piece about this big the spring locks into. It's not there, so if anything, I might end up having to lower this car back down to get it where I want it. But check out that spacing. Nice and even all the way around. We nailed it left to right. We got just as much meat sticking out on both sides. I am blown away with how well this turned out, because let me tell you, this grease monkey is not that good with a tape measure, but we got lucky, I guess. So we're going to keep going with it, see if this luck will continue for us. I've got a few things to figure out. The cooling system, all the plumbing that I had running front to rear is now where I have control arms and springs. So not really sure how that's going to work out, but where there's a will, there's a way. Also, we've got to take the convertible top off. We're going to open up the back of this car and try to get us a fuel cell mounted in there underneath that carpet so that it doesn't interfere with the top. We want to maintain its function, but we got to get something in there that's safe, that can hold enough fuel to do what we got to do. So that's to come as well. We may be fabbing that from scratch, but I certainly hope I don't have to. So we've made some killer progress with the little Miata, but there is a lot of work to be done still. And I know it seems like it's a long way away, but April is the deadline for this build. We have to have this thing ready to compete. So we've still got a whole lot to sort out, but I think we're going to be able to pull it off. But guys, I appreciate you tuning in today. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.